Hey, good morning everyone, Tractorman 44 here. Hey, I just turned the camera on so you know the wind is going to pick up. You know, we do all kinds of crazy things around here, you know. We don't sit around too often, you know, and do nothing. What I'm doing right now, when I have spare time, I've been dragging telephone poles or utility poles up out of the woods and turning them into 4x4s, 5x4s, and 6x6. And that's what we're doing today. Now these things are, they're really nice because they're nice and round and everything, you know. You don't have all the curves, you don't have all the knots and branches and everything, you know, hanging off the edge of a log. So it's really nice to saw on the sawmill, there's no doubt. However, it does create its own issues. A lot of times they're embedded with a lot of dust, dirt, grit, debris, and of course all the nails and bolts and anchors for the insulators and everything. You got to clear all that out, and I've got a whole bucket full that I've cleared out already. It's just amazing what all you find stuck in these poles. But I've only ruined one blade so far, and it was on the way out anyway. But at any rate, you have to be concerned about these being soaked in creosote. Some of the newer poles have got some other more healthy treatment that's on them that's not harmful for you. But you got to wear protection whenever you're in the dust, or especially when you're cleaning the outside edges of them all. And that's kind of an aggravation. So that's all boring and everything. I won't put that on the video, but I just take an angle grinder with a buffet wheel and literally go from stem to stern, one end to the other, identifying, locating, and removing all the debris that's going to tear up the blade, grit, rocks, and anything metallic, of course. And I tell you what, you really find a lot of times, you find the old fence staples that are actually made out of copper driven into these poles. Well, that's pretty cool. But I think it has to do with grounding, the grounding rods and everything, or the grounding wires that are typically like a number 6 solid or something like that, and they use the copper staples to staple them in. That's pretty cool. So anyway, hey man, that's what we're going to do. Now this one here is a perfect example. If you look, you see just all kinds of dirt and filth. But these things have been laying in my woods for about 25 years. So some of the outside's got a little bit of rot to it, but deep inside, the 6x6 is a material on the inside is really good material. So this is 22 foot and 4 inch. So I've got a mark up there. I'm going to go ahead and cut it at 12 foot and then another one 11.4. And that'll be real good for the project that I'm going to be working on. Now this is pretty nasty, so what I usually do is put a nice old dirty t-shirt on top of the deluxe orange Tractorman shirt. There's a taste of it in real time, so you can see what we went from and what we're going to, and you can tell it really doesn't take all that long to do 12 or 14 or 16 foot material. So just keep the dirt out of the camera. I'm going to shut it off and go ahead and clear this up. There we go, 10 minutes later, and a little bit of elbow grease is ready for the mill. Makes a big difference, boy, in how long your blades are going to last. Hot dang, that one turned out pretty nice. 12 foot fully treated 6x6. Ready to go in the ground or go on a footing or a foundation, whatever you want to use it for. Well guys, I pretty much lost track of how many I cut, but I cut a pile of them. And I got some 16 foot, 14 foot, 12 foot, 10 foot, and 8 foot 6x6s, 4x4s, 2x6s, 1x6s, all out of very thoroughly treated poles. Like I said, a lot of that cleaning and everything is kind of boring, so I did all that off camera, and the sawing is so repetitive with these things are perfectly round. I just can't imagine the guys that have access to the fir and all that stuff, you know, up in the Pacific Northwest, and other guys that have the pines and everything that are just, there's only an inch or two difference, you know, in 10 or 12 foot. That's absolutely great. Because man, I tell you what, it sure is fun cutting poles because there is very little difference in diameter from one end to the other. The most I had today is like 1.5 inches, you know, and that was in 16 foot or something, you know. But anyway, man, I am just tickled to death with this stuff. Like I said, you got to protect yourself, wear your mask whenever it's dusty. This is so wet and I'm using water and everything, you know, so there's really nothing even in the air. My glasses ain't even getting dirty, so I'm not too concerned about it. Yeah, I thought I'd better take a bit of a closer look at it for you. But look at this 12-footer here. Man, it's absolutely great. I got several 2x6s off of this guy too. The last one sitting here on the bed frame. You can see I clipped a nail. You see the telltale mark every 3/4 of an inch or so. That's how far I go on a 144-inch revolution. Like I said, you can't cut this many and not clip at least one nail. I think it was probably one of them copper staples. It was driven in there so deep it didn't show whenever I cleaned it all off. But it doesn't really matter, you know, because I got plenty of life out of that blade. This time changed it anyway. So now it really is time to change it. So hey, you know what? That is all there is this one here. And this Tractor Man 44. And I'm out of here, guys.